Okay, folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier. It's Mike's Instant Movie Review. Drive Away Dolls, is that what I saw today? I believe so. Ethan Coen directed, co-wrote the script with someone named Tricia Cooke, who I'm not terribly familiar with. Ethan and Joel Coen, of course, have been around for a while. Should you go see this movie? Should you go not? I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I don't think I liked it too much. However, I know I didn't like it too much. However, I could see that somebody else might like it a whole lot. And I really just think it's because I've seen a lot of movies very similar to this one in my life. It's what you would call derivative, okay? And what does derivative mean? First of all, it's such a pretentious word, but I'm using it. It basically means it feels like other stuff you've already seen, okay? And in this context, this movie, which is released now in 2024, it takes place in 1999. There is some Y2K references early in the film. Here's a little spotlight for you. But basically, does the movie really need to take place in 1999? Does that lend itself to the story? Maybe just in the fact that, to the technology of cell phones and stuff were not so relevant because, this script as it's written may not have made sense if someone could have just hopped on a cell phone and called somebody easily. Or, yes, there was cell phones around back then, but they weren't as prominent. There was no texting and cell phones. Not everybody's had one yet. In any regard, what's this movie about? Well, we've got these young lesbians, which is great, good. And I did feel, in some regard, look, Ethan Coen's getting to be an older guy. I don't know how old he is, maybe 60, 65. But it did feel like this was an attempt. I have to tap into the youth. I have to show that I'm not just a crusty old man. I'm making films with young lesbians. Look how edgy I am. In a lot of ways, this film felt like a lot of other films I've been seeing recently where it just tries too hard. I think Lisa Frankenstein, which I enjoyed quite a bit, but I felt like Lisa Frankenstein was also trying too hard to cutesy up to the audience, okay? And I felt like this one was kind of doing that. I didn't feel like, however old Ethan Coen is he really that hip, to this young lesbian scene of the 1990s? Maybe he is, maybe I'm looking past him. Or maybe the co-writer Tricia Cooke has all these insights. I don't know. It felt like, basically they have this thing called drive-away cars. I don't remember hearing about this, but I guess this was a thing. Maybe it's still a thing where you're basically hired to drive a car somewhere and you get to go to wherever the car is going and then you just drop the car off. I guess there were professional services that did this type of thing. I'm not aware of that, but that's kind of our pretense. And these two young women that are best friends, and they both happen to be lesbians. Marion, who appears to be of Indian descent, she's a little more tight, so to speak. She's a little more prude. She's a little more restricted, conservative. She's not in full touch of her sexuality. And the other one, Jamie, is just, Cunninglicious is her middle name. From the opening scenes of the film, she's performing. She's sexually engaged. So basically we have this, odd couple of a team here where they're platonic, female friends, but one's a rockin' and roaring lesbian. The other one is, still got her panties all tightened up. And so what do we have to do? The loose one has to untighten the tight one through a series of events and all this crap. And I don't know, man. I just felt like the Jamie character is also presented with, performed with, I thought, a real disingenuous, non-believable Southern accent. Now, it's quite possible that that's the actress's real voice. I wasn't familiar with the actress. However, the voice that she was doing, it sounded very, it didn't seem genuine to me. Now, I could be wrong, because a lot of times you do see characters or actors or whatever the fucks who they're doing a goofy voice, and you're like, for instance, RFK Jr. I mean, he's got a fucking disease or a condition. But if you see the guy, I mean, no offense, it's hard for me to listen to the guy. It causes me pain to listen to RFK Jr. because he's got that, speech condition, that voice condition. No offense to him or anyone else that's suffered through some type of, voice issue. But, it's frustrating. And yes, some people have, southern accents, northern accents. I'm sure in other countries. I've been learning more about India recently and all their wonderful variations on a theme of language. So people sound different in different parts of the world, different parts of each country. I understand that. However, something about her voice, it didn't match up to me. I'd be interested to see if she's, an actress who was doing her best with a southern voice, and it just didn't work for me, folks. It really didn't. And I think that's another thing, folks. I'm an actor myself. I've directed some films. You can see them on One Man and a Camera Films. One Man and a Camera Films. Gee whiz, Mike, make a recommendation. The Impeccable's a really good one. So You're the Guy is a good comedy, and the award-winning Disregard the Vampire Mike Messier documentary. Actually, most of my films have won awards of some kind or another. So let's go back to this. I don't know. I felt like, once again, the movie was trying too hard. It seemed like a desperate plea from a crusty old white guy. Nothing wrong with that. Trying to fit in with the kids. Trying to show his street cred by featuring these young lesbian characters. How is the lesbianism represented? It's mostly just by random hookups. And look, I've never been a young lesbian, so maybe that's the culture in 1999. But the way that the lesbians were kind of portrayed was they're all just making out with each other and tossing each other around and playing, not even spin the bottle, just like you make out with this one and then we trade. So I don't know if this was, maybe I'm missing out. Maybe I missed all the fun in 1999 with all the, freewheeling lesbians, but I guess I wouldn't be invited anyway. So, but in any event, I just didn't find the movie. And the thing is, so going back to the fucking plot of this thing, okay, the girls are going on their road trip to Tallahassee, Florida, which is somewhat interesting because that's not too far from me. I have been to Tallahassee. And they had some Ponce de Leon references, which was nice, statues and so forth. But when these girls get this car that they're supposed to drive away with, they suffer a flat tire. They act like I don't know if this was supposed to be comedy or what, or if this is like a reference that young women get upset if they get a flat tire. I mean, everybody gets upset if you get a flat tire. But the way they portrayed this in the film, it's like the women had never had car trouble before, and like having a flat tire or a blowout was like the biggest, scariest thing they could experience. So then they go digging in the trunk, Marion and Jamie, looking for a spare tire. They don't find a spare tire, folks, but they find our plot device. They find a fucking hat box, which has got like some type of coating, like sealant or cooling mechanism. They open it up, and what do they find? A decapitated head. Now, folks, I'll be honest with you. At the beginning of this movie, I kind of dozed off for about 20 minutes. Like not at the very beginning, but maybe like 5 or 6 minutes into it. I think I just kind of phased out. So whenever the decapitation came, I missed it. I put the pieces together because I saw that character's, when he had a body on his head earlier, and I saw these bad guys, and these are kind of your bumbling bad guys. If you've seen the movie Home Alone, the famous Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci are the characters, the actors that are playing the bad guy characters. That's kind of akin to these guys. They're like bumbling crooks. They can't get their shit straight, and they're upset because there's a mix-up at the car agency. So these two young girls have taken off with their vehicle that have the fucking head and a suitcase. And, we naturally think, once again, the suitcase. Like we go back to fucking Pulp Fiction, right? 1994. So we have the big reveal. What's in this suitcase? We're assuming it's money. Nope, it's a collection of dildos. Prosthetic penises acquired from a woman who was basically this woman in the 70s who was like rocking and rolling with all these dudes. And she would, fuck them, and then she would make fucking molds of their penises, their erect penises. And it turns out that some of these men that she fornicated and she took these moldings of turned out to have pretty spectacular lives. What a coincidence. So she's a star fucker in the making, or she's got the golden vag that makes these men stars and powerful men. And one of them turns out to be a guy who's running, I guess, for Florida State Senate, and he's played by Matt Damon. So Matt Damon signs off on this thing, trying to give this movie some credibility. So basically, there's this suitcase full of dildos, and for whatever reason, the senator's dildo mold, like the fucking mold of his erect cock, is the best one because one of the young lesbians, Jamie, has a great urge to satisfy herself with it, which she does. And even good old uptight Miriam or Marion, or whatever the fuck, she's jealous of this situation. So in a roundabout way, like everybody gets in on the fun. You've got lesbians, we're saying how great Matt Damon's penis is, or his character, or whatever the fuck. It's just, the movie's just shining itself up. You know what I mean? The movie, one good thing I liked about the movie, mercifully, it was an hour and 24 minutes long, not even 90 minutes. So, I mean, they did not extend the brutality of the suffering that I went through watching this thing. I felt a lot of times with this film, had this movie come out in 1999, like had this movie come out before a bunch of other shit, I probably would have been appreciated it more. But I feel now, the movie, it's not edgy enough to be edgy. It's not funny enough to be funny. It's not sexy enough to be sexy. It's not empowering enough to be empowering. Well, with the lesbian community, in my opinion. But I could be wrong. I mean, if you want to comment. I mean, Christ, I'm not holding you back. You can type your little comment and I'll fucking read it and I'll probably respond. But I just didn't feel like this movie, whatever it was trying to accomplish, I don't think it really did. Maybe it was just trying to be a fun fucking movie, which, I mean, Christ, I don't know. Like I said, I was not in the best of moods. I was a bit tired, and seeing the movie in a matinee was probably not a good idea. This is probably like a 9 o'clock on a Friday night movie type of deal. And like I said, if I were younger, or if I was a younger person now seeing this film and I hadn't seen Pulp Fiction or Reindeer Games or 2 Days in the Valley or Killing Zoe or whatever the fuck, a million other goddamn movies that are like this one but better, I might like this one quite fine. That's why I said, like, sometimes this movie could be a gateway drug for some young people who are seeing this movie and they haven't experienced some good edgy type of road trip movies. Go see this one and they might find better films out there. What else? There was another movie that I think I did a review on, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, maybe summer of 2021 or 2022, probably 2021. It was some type of movie, Zoe, or it was about a stripper, and apparently the story was based on a real life woman who wrote a bunch of tweets or texts. God, fuck. The movie was basically based on a series of tweets by some person in reality. Like a woman, I guess, went on Twitter and tweeted out a bunch of fucking things about her crazy weekend. And some assholes out there in asshole land were so inspired that they said, oh, let's make a screenplay. This is the most amazing fucking story. And so they did. And so in that fucking film, whatever the fuck it was about a couple of strippers. One of them had a fucking kid. They go on a road trip to Florida. I guess that's the new big thing. Everyone's taking a road trip to Florida. And they had all these wacky adventures. And the movie, I don't think that one was that good either, to be, I was going to say to be quite honest. I'm always quite honest. That's my thing. That's my jam, assholes. So I don't know what to tell you. I mean, That movie sucked. This movie, you know, when I say sucked, it means it didn't live up to its potential. I remember seeing the previews for this Drive Away Dolls thing, and I liked the title of the film, and I did like the trailer of the film, because I remember seeing it in the theater several times, and I just don't feel like it delivered. I feel like I say, I'll own my partial part of it. I was not originally going to see this film. I was getting to the theater late. There was 5 o'clock traffic, so I switched my course of action to see this one. And so I do feel it's like not a matinee movie. It's a 9 o'clock and after, 10 o'clock and after movie. Do you necessarily have to see this one on the big screen? Probably not. Also, you ever see things like, you know, Muppet Babies, or I guess like Young Sheldon, or Everybody Hates Chris, or whatever the fuck, where you have some character and then they just do like a younger version of the character? And I think really there was like a cartoons on this, like the Muppet Babies is the quintessential one. But I think even, was there like the Little Flintstones or some shit? Like you just put the word Lil, L-I-L, Lil, and it just cutens everything up. I felt like this movie was Lil L word, you know, instead of all the sexy women you had, the Flashdance lady, and my personal favorite, what's her name? Was it Mira Kushner? Very pretty woman. You know what I mean? It's Jenny, the character Jenny on the L word. I mean, the L word, you had fucking Sybil Shepherd. You might know her. She played my mother in the film Hard Luck. My character's mother. Okay, assholes. What else? I mean, that show, the L word, that's going back to like 2005, and then I think it was on the air for 7 or 8 years, and then, you know, it was off the air for 5 or 6 or 7 years, and they rebooted it for a couple of more years. But this movie, Drive Away Dolls, felt like little L word, like just, you know, younger characters, not as good, not as, no offense to the actresses, but not as good of actresses, not as accomplished. And just, I don't know, just like a miniature version of the L word, but just not nearly as fucking good. So, I mean, I'm down with the cause for these women. However, I mean, I'm going to judge their fucking movie, especially because it's directed by an evil white man, Ethan Coen, once again. I don't really feel that this movie is something that you can say, oh, this is, you know, a lesbian property or whatever the fuck, because quite frankly, it's just another white guy trying to be hip and cool by directing this film. No offense, Ethan. So that's my feelings on it. I felt like this movie was a fail. However, once again, I can see where some younger person, a younger version of Mike Messier, God, wouldn't that be great, would be watching this thing and saying, oh yeah, this was so edgy and so hip and whatever the fuck and all these goddamn things. And it's just like one of those deals where as you get older in life, folks, you start to see the same shit just repackaged with a different name. And, you know, you get a little bit cynical and a little bit jaded because you want to enjoy things. You want to enjoy all the movies and all the goddamn TV shows and all the goddamn TV series. But when you see things that are derivative and just feel like every other fucking thing you've seen before, I'm not going to put it over. I'm not going to say how great it is unless it really is great. So out of 5 stars, folks, I have to give this one a kind of a disappointing 2, maybe 2.25 to be nice. If you really want to go see it, go see it. If you want to if you have seen it, leave a comment. I do appreciate that some of these Mike's Instant Movie Reviews are picking up. More and more people are watching. The subscriber count, folks, we could work on a bit. So if you do enjoy these goddamn reviews, it doesn't cost you any money to push the fucking subscribe button. And furthermore, you can always copy and paste that URL and plant it into your social media. For those of you that are wondering why I haven't returned your Facebook messages, well, apparently one of my Mike's Instant Movie Reviews got me a little Facebook suspension. I guess they didn't like my choice language or whatever the fuck, so I have been serving time in the Big Boss Man's Facebook jail. I've actually enjoyed it. Go to MikeMessier.com, scroll to the bottom, buy one of my books. My novels are better entertainment than these movies anyway. One Man and a Camera Films for my stuff, MikeMancier.com.